Don't you just hate it when you arrive at a seemingly normal location to do an unspecified job and end up falling in a hole into an endless maze of abandoned and creepy locations? If you, like myself, relate to this notion, then stick around to take a look at Anemoiapolis, as you might just feel delighted to see that you're not the only one to deal with this terrible issue. Anemoiapolis, aside from being a game with a very hard name to pronounce, falls into what the internet has taken to calling a liminal space game. If you're unsure of what that means, think backrooms. If you're still unsure, it's basically a bunch of empty, abandoned, and endless locations strung together and never ending. This is a branch of horror that almost fully relies on atmosphere, as something is just never quite right in these places. So, needless to say, it is, to me at least, quite a fascinating concept. Despite that being the case though, I had never delved into liminal space games until now. And let me tell you, I'm glad I did so with this title, even if I don't think that this is an experience everyone will enjoy. While it does nail the atmosphere and concept, there's just not much here in the horror aspects of things. Or in most aspects, really. So if you're not a fan or curious about liminal space, you won't find much here. Let me explain. Anemoiapolis has you playing as a nameless protagonist who arrives at the titular location to do an unspecified job.
Anemoiapolis? Anemoiapolis. Anemoiapolis. I think that's it.
There really isn't much context here, unfortunately. Things go horribly wrong and he falls for a long time before landing miraculously alive into an underground pool. And thus begins your foray into the liminal spaces. Throughout the hour and a half or so that you will spend in the game, you will make your way through 5 main areas with several themes within them, such as a water park, a mall, a movie theater, and more.
Hello?
The game's strongest point is definitely the atmosphere. These places look, by all means, like they should. At least, superficially. Look closer though, and this layer of normality is peeled to reveal something weirder. Deep underground pools with exits only available near the roof, broken toy rides that work just long enough to let out creepy sounds before stopping. Endlessly repeating rooms that simply do not make sense. Mannequins that move around when you're not looking, doorways that do not lead where they should, and perhaps most unsettlingly, shadows sometimes showing up and disappearing before you're even sure of what it is that you just saw. So, visually, these places all look normal enough, but when analyzed in their entirety, down to their details, the cracks start to show. And I think this is a fascinating concept that the game executes very well. Perhaps a bit too well. What I mean by that is that, at least for me, this focus on uncanny valley and the unsettling atmosphere made the game more of a relaxing experience than a horror experience, weirdly enough. Maybe this is a trait of liminal spaces, I wouldn't know as I'm still new to it, but it was my experience. This isn't an issue, mind you, and it might not even be the case for other players, but it's still worth a mention. Walking around abandoned places and wondering about their history was the main part of the reason why this experience felt so relaxing. But it wasn't the only reason. See, the game also has no immediate threat. You're always hearing something here or there, maybe seeing a shadow show up and disappear, but I never quite felt threatened. Except for during one specific moment in the game in which you get a light chase sequence. There are no jump scares per se, no enemies to fight, nothing of the sort. The game just fully relies on its unsettling atmosphere, which I know isn't going to be for everyone. For me though, it made for an enjoyable experience, even if it was more relaxing than scary. The gameplay is also as simple as it can be. You can basically run, jump, walk, crouch, and zoom your view if you want to get a good look at those shadows before they vanish. During the game itself, your goal is to basically unlock an elevator in the hub that leads you to the surface. However, things are not as simple as they seem. For the elevator to unlock, you need to activate 5 other elevators, which are unlocked in 5 different zones. You reach these zones via special elevators in another floor of the hub, and you have to pay tickets to access them. That's right, you heard me right, tickets. Remember those arcade tickets that you got when you were a kid? The ones that piled up super fast? Or not, if you sucked at arcade games like I did? Yeah, those tickets are in the game. And it's a very weird addition, if I'm being honest. Basically, as you explore, you have to keep an eye out for tickets on the floor and on furniture. You can find them all over the place, and they can even respawn in areas you've already visited. They basically just serve as a way to gauge your progress, and I can't help but feel the game would have been better off just stringing the areas together in a linear fashion, rather than having a hub that gates you with tickets. But oh well. And that's it, really. You walk around, you interact with stuff, find tickets, try to unlock your elevators. Honestly, the most that will shake up the gameplay is the simple puzzles you can find that require you to connect dots with a line in an electric panel. Although you can only find like 3 of those. There are also some other environmental puzzles, such as finding an object to jump on in order to get over a wall, but honestly, they are all very, very simple. Aside from simple gameplay, the game also features no real storyline. There's a reason for that though. It's only chapter 1 in the series, but it did sting to see the game ending just as anything resembling a story started to happen. And who knows how long it'll be before we see chapter 2. The game also has a bit of jank in some areas and had frame drops here and there, probably as a result of being developed by a single person. The main areas were also very hit or miss. A couple of them were great and absolutely made it worth it to play the game, and others, not so much. One of them, in fact, was over in about 3 minutes, if not less. 3 minutes of running through rooms that looked the same. I'm sure I just got lucky in finding the right path, but I'd be remiss not to mention this. Again, these are all issues that resulted in what I said earlier about the game absolutely not being for everyone, but still, I had a good and relaxing time with Anemoiapolis. As for other aspects, the visuals are basic, but they fit what the game is going for very nicely, and the soundtrack greatly contributes to the atmosphere the game creates. In fact, there's no background music in lots of places, just the eerie sound of your footsteps and other things. The game is also voice acted, which you won't be hearing much of, unfortunately. Most dialogue is actually the protagonist thinking to himself, so you will only hear him speaking when he says something out loud.
Hello?
Which is rare. But still, being able to see his inner voice regarding what he's going through is a nice touch. Like I said, this title won't be for everyone, but if you're interested in the liminal spaces concept, then it probably will be for you. I know it was for me. I know it might have seemed like I was very harsh in the game at some points, but honestly, I really did enjoy the experience. Enough to recommend it, just not for everyone. You gotta know what you're getting yourself into, after all. If you do pick up the game, let me know how you liked it, or, how you didn't like it. And now for the fun YouTube stuff. If you liked this video, if it was useful to you, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as both actions really help me out. But above all else, leave a comment. I love hearing from all of you. That aside, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video. Bye bye!